All right, so here comes part 2 of the UP brief. Today is Mother's Day, and we'll finish off the last couple of minutes. As it turns out, yesterday, after spending several hours to upload what I thought was the complete UP brief, only to find out that the last 5 minutes was cut out. So we're going to do that for you right now to give you the last little tidbits of information. So Venezuela, Silvercore, obviously the United States, the T-Man is denying all involvability in the coup attempt. 2 Americans are now being held in Venezuela for a botched kidnapping attempt. They're being paraded on Venezuelan TV and probably being forced to say that this was a U.S.-backed operation that has failed. Venezuela. Why is Venezuela important? A couple reasons. They have huge involvements with China. China. Huge involvements with China. China is in Venezuela. And secondly, oil. Venezuela has a lot of oil. Very rich black gold. The country used to be arguably the wealthiest nation in South America. Now it's one of the poorest nations in South America, thanks to the socialist endeavorings that overtook the country. Warren Buffett and his financial holdings company, Berkshire Hathaway, have bailed out of the United States airlines industries. Major holdings in Boeing, etc., United Airlines, they have sold out at a net profit of 0. In fact, Warren Buffett has lost billions, and I said billions of dollars, by pulling out of the airlines industry. Now, it seems to me, not that Warren Buffett can't afford to lose a couple of $billion, but at the expense of losing billions of dollars, it seems to me that that should be a pretty good indication as to where we're headed in the very near future. Warren Buffett does not just pull out of businesses and lose billions of dollars for nothing at all. So obviously he thinks that the time frame of recovery is going to be far longer than it's worth, quite frankly. Penn State researcher, who happens to be a Chinese national, has fallen victim to a murder-suicide. We have a lot of those things, and I'm not talking weird, crazy things like, I'm talking weird, crazy things, not like husband-wife stuff. Weird ones that don't even make sense. But apparently this gentleman was about to make major breakthroughs and report on, quote, cellular mechanisms and cellular basis and the cellular basis of complications, unquote. I hardly even understand what any of that means, but it does sound pretty technical and pretty important. And apparently he was shot dead. The other Chinese national, who is believed to have shot him, was found a couple blocks away in a car with a bullet through his head too. Murder-suicide. Things that make you go, When countries are having issues with other countries, there are usually three approaches that are taken. The first approach is diplomacy. When diplomacy fails, we go to option 2. Option 2 is covert operations. When option 2 fails, we go to option 3. And option 3 is Whiskey Alpha Romeo. I think this Chinese operative was option 2'd. He, my humble opinion is he is a victim of the second option of covert operations. That's how problems are settled with the big boys. Lastly, Whiskey Alpha Romeo. Guam, the squadrons of B-52s that have been a part of the country's national strategic operational plan for the last 20 years of being stationed in Guam have been moved to a secret location, undisclosed secret location, another Air Force base somewhere, but they are no longer stationed in Guam. They've been there for the last 20 years, or abouts, and that definitely seems like something big is being anticipated. And in replace of those B-52s, a squadron of B-1 stealth bombers from South Dakota have been deployed to, I believe it's Anderson Air Force Base in Guam. And they have taken their place. Stealth bombers in Guam. Whiskey Alpha Romeo. In the South China Sea, Vietnamese, Filipino, and Thai fishing vessels are being sunk by the Chinese Navy. Whiskey Alpha Romeo. A U.S. naval vessel was escorted out of the area in the South China Sea. Whiskey Alpha Romeo. Several states and several countries are now starting class action lawsuits against China for starting and being responsible for releasing the cerveza bug upon the world. Whiskey Alpha Romeo. A brand new Chinese aircraft carrier is on the Chinese naval shipyard docks, near finished and ready to be deployed for operations in the South China Sea. Brand new aircraft carrier. Whiskey Alpha Romeo. China has about $50 trillion invested into the United States Stock Exchange, the Dow, the NASDAQ. Whiskey Alpha Romeo. They also hold 50 trillion, and I said trillion with a capital T, dollars worth of United States Treasury bonds. That is how countries make money with other countries. Some people may not even know what a treasury bond is, but back in the old days, our citizens used to buy treasury bonds. You'd buy a $100 treasury bond, and after it was matured, you could turn that $150 treasury or $100 treasury bond in and receive $150. And people used to invest in their own country and save those bonds for their kids and grandkids in the future. Really don't see that anymore. People don't really buy bonds anymore. That's not a big thing. But governments do still sell bonds. They do still sell bonds, and they sell them to other governments. And China has invested to the tune of a good 50 trillion in United States Treasury bonds. Now, at any point in time, China can hand those Treasury bonds back over to the country and say, we'd like our $50 trillion back. At any time that can happen. Now, obviously, they wouldn't be matured, so they wouldn't be worth more than face value. But at any time, they can be presented and receive face value back. And if they are held until maturity, obviously that 50 trillion would be some astronomical number, probably 75 trillion or more, that those bonds would be worth upon presenting at maturity. Either way, Whiskey Alpha Romeo. China owns about 38% of all farmland in the United States. Let that sink in for a minute. China owns 38% of all farmland in the United States. Whiskey Alpha Romeo. It's a lot to think about, a lot to digest. This has been the Daily Brief, or the semi-weekly UP Brief. We'll see how this goes. I'll do the work. I can accumulate the information, and all you have to do is listen. But do me that favor, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Help the YouTube algorithms. And, oh my goodness, I just coughed. Last but not least, my beautiful wife, who previously thought I was her crazy husband that did crazy things like prepping and holding on to things that she just didn't couldn't really understand and didn't even really want to try. Recently, after this whole event has taken place, has said to me, UP, you were right. You were right all along. And she has kind of gotten on board with some of the crazy things that I do. In further news, she shortly thereafter informed me that that was the only thing that I've ever been right about, and not to let it go to my head. Well, that's my beautiful wife for you. And she's most likely right. So there you go, folks. There is the brief. There's the UP Brief. I'll see you in a couple of days, and we'll talk again, and I'll let you know what else has been going on since this brief. So until then, I'm the Upstate Prepper. Peace out.